Hey guys, Metal Jesus here. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I am on this epic quest to try to connect as many of my retro gaming consoles up to a modern HD television via HDMI as possible. But this is no easy task. Well, thankfully, my buddy Ryan, who runs the website CastlemaniaGames.com, sent me over something that is absolutely amazing. Basically, what this allows you to do is connect 3 generations of consoles up to your HD television. And the amazing thing is, it does it with almost zero lag. And the best part, it's only $100. Let's take a look. Here is the RetroTink 2X, and as you can see here, it's got a bunch of different inputs. Like I mentioned, it basically supports 3 generations of retro gaming systems. So you have component, S-video, composite inputs, you also have audio, and then it mixes all of that down into mini HDMI out. Now, if you haven't heard of mini HDMI, don't worry about it. These cables are very easy to find. It's basically a smaller input, but it'll output to a normal size HDMI cable for your television. You'll notice that there's a smoothing button here. It says on or off, and I'm going to demonstrate that more fully in a bit when I show some gameplay footage. But if you tap that button a third time, it'll go into pass-through mode, which is important for people who already have the open source scan converter. So basically, if you already have a device that upscales or does some post video processing, you can use that. It plays nice with it. The input switch is important because it doesn't auto toggle between the different inputs. So for instance, if you have something connected via component, but then you later connect something via S-video, you have to tap that switch in order to cycle through them. And then it gets its power from the USB port. So a lot of people already have these for smartphones, or you could just get a cable and plug it straight into your television if it supports it. All right, guys, let's jump right into this with the Super Nintendo connected via a single yellow composite cable. Now, typically, this is the most common way that people in North America play these kind of games, but it's also one of the lowest quality. So let's take a look at the first game here, and let's check out Metal Warriors on the Super Nintendo. Fantastic game if you have not played this. This is the standard configuration for the RetroTink, where it's taking standard 240p resolution and then line doubling it up to 480p, and then sent through HDMI. And as you can see, this looks fantastic. I mean, you could play this no problem on your HD television. The colors look good, there's no noticeable input lag whatsoever, but check this out, we can do even better than this. I'm gonna swap out the standard composite cable and use these HD RetroVision cables here. Plug that into the component input on the RetroTink, and then check this out. Now, I don't know if you can tell on your device, maybe you're watching it on a small smartphone, but the difference is significant. I was actually kind of blown away here. I didn't think that it would make this big of a difference, but again, on my HD television, I was like, holy crap, this game looks amazing. And then I was really curious to turn on that smooth mode. So here is smooth mode, and again, it looks absolutely fantastic. I was really surprised by this because, you know, I didn't swap anything out. I mean, it's my standard Super Nintendo, but obviously I'm using really good cables and then this RetroTink. This to me, I mean, again, I know I'm gushing about this, but I was really surprised at how well this looks. And then here's a side-by-side comparison of all 3 connection types that I did. Again, it's amazing how it just revitalized my Super Nintendo. It looks absolutely incredible on an HD television. Now let's try something a little bit newer. This is a PlayStation 1 running Crash Team Racing through composite. And again, it looks pretty good here. I mean, the frame rate's solid, colors are good, but we can do better. So the PlayStation 1 also supports S-video, so that's what you're seeing right here. So I swapped out the cable for an S-video cable right here. Again, line doubling through the RetroTink with practically no lag. I mean, you just don't feel it at all, and it works fantastic. Again, let's do a side-by-side. So on the left, we have composite. On the right, we have S-Video, both of them going to the RetroTink, which is outputting HDMI. Let's check out some other systems. Here is the Sega Genesis, also Mega Drive in Europe, and this is running Thunder Force 3, and this is in normal mode. Again, smoothing is not turned on. You can turn that on if you want to add that. It's hard to say. I mean, a lot of people like me, we like the pixels, but there are times when 3D polygon games where you may want to turn it on. It's nice to have the option. To demonstrate what smoothing looks like when you apply it to 2D sprites, here is Streets of Rage 2, and this is obviously the normal mode here. There's no sort of smoothing going on. And then here is the smoothing mode. And I honestly go back and forth between which one I like more. There are times when I really, prefer the pixels, but it's nice to have the option. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Sega CD, just for the fun of it. Thought I'd pop this in, and keep in mind this is still composite video, so technically it's the lowest quality that you can get from this console. Well, it maybe does RF, but that doesn't really count. I mean, most of us would use the single yellow cable. And then let's go ahead and turn on smoothing mode so you can see what that looks like. Again, it's funny, I can't really tell if I like smoothing mode better or not, especially in these 2D sprite games. I mean, sometimes I like it. It's certainly not bad, but it's not what you would expect. So again, it's nice that you can quickly turn it on or turn it off. All right, now let's go to something a little bit newer, the PlayStation 2, and we're going to check out Burnout Domination. Now, I chose this game because it's a little bit of a later release, and you can see some really interesting things in the beginning. So, first of all, this game by default is going to be 480i, and connected to the RetroTink, that is automatically going to double it to 480p for you. So obviously this game looks and plays really well. I mean, this is a very fast game, and again, there's no lag. There's really no problem playing it whatsoever through this, and it looks great on an HD television, but I was very curious to see how the smoothing looked on this. So this is, again, using vertical filtering to do real-time smoothing. And I gotta say that actually, I think I prefer the smooth look to this than the original. Let's take a look at the beginning real quick, because I think that shows it very well. So if you'll notice, some of those buildings have like rafters, and if I pause the screen, you can see it's definitely got some jaggies going on there. Now, if I switch on the smooth mode, that just goes away, and it looks beautiful. And then here is side by side. The one on the left is without smooth mode, and then the one on the right is with smooth mode. And I should mention this is obviously with component cables, so this is technically the best output that the PlayStation 2 can do. And again, it just looks and runs fantastic. Now for something a little bit different, I haven't actually played my Panasonic 3DO in a long time, but this of course is a classic game. This is Road Rash, and this is connected via S-Video cables. And this is the normal mode, so it's just line doubling here. But let's go ahead and turn on smooth. So I feel like smooth mode on the 3DO isn't really that dramatic. It's not that drastic. And so again, this is probably a case where I would probably leave it on. It's really a preference thing. Here's another 3DO game called Microcosm, and this is an on-rail shooter. But you'll notice that the background is actually video. So it's kind of one of these old school FMV games where they have gameplay footage over the top of that. So you're shooting stuff that's over basically a movie playing. And the reason why I want to check this out is because smoothing actually here does a great job, because it smooths out the gameplay elements, but it doesn't really affect the movie in the background. So it actually works really well. I actually prefer this mode over like not having smoothing on. Next, let's go ahead and check out the Sega Saturn connected via S-Video. And I have to admit, my S-Video cables aren't great, but they definitely do the job here. And again, the game looks fantastic, runs great, but I wanted to check out what the smooth mode looks like, because this is obviously a 3D game. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Yeah, I like it. You know, I might actually leave smooth mode on with this console, especially with 3D games. It looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and check out Panzer Dragoon here, running also on the Sega Saturn with S-video cables. This is normal mode, and then here is smooth mode turned on. Again, I kind of am leaning towards smooth mode on the Sega Saturn. It looks really good. As you can see, I'm very impressed with this thing. I mean, I'm gonna start using this all the time in my game room. It's definitely gonna make capturing gameplay footage a whole lot more convenient, but there are a couple things I would probably change about it if I could. The first being that these buttons underneath the plexiglass here, they're just a little awkward for me to use because obviously I'm a big guy, have big fingers, so putting them underneath the plexiglass is kind of weird to try to hit the smooth button or the input. It'd be nice if those are a little bit more on the outside. Also, you can only connect one console to it at a time, which is a real bummer because I could see me trying to use it as a switcher with multiple systems. I think that would be absolutely amazing, even though I'm sure it would add to the cost. But again, with something like this, I would definitely buy into that. If you want to check this out for yourself, go to castlemaniagames.com. Like I mentioned previously, my buddy Ryan runs that website. He's actually a big part of the Seattle retro gaming community. And on his website, he's got some amazing stuff, so definitely check it out. Love to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As always, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care. I want to mention something kind of interesting here at the end, that the guy who made this, his name's Mike Chi of RetroTink. He is an electrical engineer, and his day job is creating wearable technology to read people's thoughts. This guy is a frickin' genius. There's a couple interviews with him online, and the guy is super smart, very interesting. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching.